What's up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner. Man, I know it's been a few days since we had our last podcast, maybe about a week and a half. However, man, we had some big news that was supposed to come out for the Texas fan base. We were expecting to get, Urban Meyer to be the coach. Looks like he told us no, and we got Tom Herman for another year. So I didn't have a podcast after the Kansas State game. I didn't think I needed one because the numbers were so skewed. Bijan Robinson did his thing. Sam Ellinger did his thing. I had the write up, on the NinosCorner website, but I didn't have the actual podcast. But today we're going to talk about, since this Kansas game got canceled, right? We're going to talk about the season in review for the regular season, not including the bowl game, right? And so we're going to talk about this season in review, look at the NCN, which you guys know, you guys are NinosCorners, like the fans, the family, right? So the NCN is the NinosCorner number. We're going to break it down for the receiving. We're going to break it down for the rushing side of the ball. And we're going to tell you guys who should have been starting the whole year. What is their NCN number? You guys know the bigger the NCN, the better. But before we get into that, guys, we're going to talk about some things that have happened in this Texas football program. The elephant in the room is, it looks like the UT brass, the AD, Mr. Chris Del Conte didn't give a strong backing for Tom Herman pretty much this whole season, kind of let them out to dry with the Eyes of Texas situation. Didn't give him any kind of endorsement throughout the season. When he tried to Tom out that Monday after the Iowa State loss, I didn't know what was going to happen, but he went out there. They asked him if he got endorsement from the AD, and he wouldn't comment on that. He said he was just focused on the Kansas State game, and it looks like he didn't get that vote of confidence because UT was actively pursuing Coach Urban Meyer, just behind the scenes to possibly get him to be the Texas head football coach in 2021. Now, what does this mean for Tom Herman? At that point, it meant he was a dead man walking. I think anybody within the UT program thought that at the end of this season, Tom Herman was going to be let go, just simply due to coaches know that this is probably going to be his last year unless he turns things around dramatically. And if things do get shaky when it comes to the recruiting side, you got the coaches down there at Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher. You got Ed O from LSU. You're going to have Coach Saban and pretty much everybody and their mother, Ryan Day from Ohio State. They can come into Texas. They can poach a talent and say, don't even think about going to Texas because that coach is a lame duck. Now, I thought Tom Herman was going to be let go after the Kansas State game, but what Texas ended up doing was when they let him coach that Kansas State game and he looked so good offensively during that game, it makes you say, can you really fire a coach who just blew out a team who's probably going to finish 7-3 on the season? Texas didn't have that 10th game of the season due to the Kansas game getting canceled. However, he's 6-3. They go to a bowl game. Tom always does well in bowl games. Let's say they win the bowl game. Now you got a coach who's 7-3, and he finishes in the top 15 or like the top 20. And so that's the question that Texas has to ponder. But with them allowing Tom Herman to be a lame duck, we've had guys that have decommitted. The top recruit in 2022. The quarterback, Ewers, man, he is a beast. He left Texas, so he basically just decommitted, like a month ago or so, and he's going to Ohio State. We missed out on guys who were Texas legacies, like the Brockemeyer twins. We missed out on a bunch of folks who are not even considering Texas to come to college because they don't even, either they don't believe that the coach is going to be here in the next couple of years, or they don't believe in this coaching staff, and they don't believe the things that are being told to them. They've been told that this offense is going to be different. But for the first 5 or 6 games of the season, the offense has not been different. Matter of fact, the defense is what's been winning games for us, right? Kudos to, to Chris Ash. It looks like he got that unit turned around pretty well at the, towards the end of the season. So Texas was losing commit after commit. We lost Billy Bowman. We lost Ewers. We lost just a lot of folks. We had kids that were from the state of Texas who would have a top 10 list, and Texas wasn't in that top 10 list. How does that happen for a kid in the state of Texas. How does that happen in Texas? I guess I'm part of the golden era when we had Mac Brown. And when, a 10-win season was garbage for us. We ended up winning the championship, right? In 05-06 season. And Mac Brown cleaned up the state of Texas pretty much like nobody's ever seen. Are those days gonna is that going to happen anymore for any school in the state of Texas? Probably not. What we saw from Mac was just an amazing thing that happened. However, to get back on our subject here, the momentum when it comes to recruiting for the school is just not where it should be. That's why I thought Tom Herman was going to be, let go, just at the end of the season. Now it looks like Tom Herman is coming back for the season, and we got to see what's going to happen with the school. Can he get this thing turned around? Can he get this team back on the path in which Texas is supposed to be, and what Texas fans and what Texas brass are used to seeing when it comes to the University of Texas? We shall see. We shall see. Now, in saying all that, guys, Texas did beat the brakes off Kansas State, and I was so happy to see that. We'll do just a slight game, overview. So when it comes to Kansas State, Texas murdered them. Bijan Robinson did what he was supposed to do and what Texas fans expected him to do pretty much this whole season. I felt like Bijan was pretty much being held back. I wrote this in my article, on my website, NinosCorner.com, that this, with the Bijan Robinson situation, this was eerie similar to the Cedric Benson, rest in peace, Ced B, to the Cedric Benson incident when his freshman year, well, not incident, but his freshman season, Mac Brown didn't play him at all for like the first 4 or 5 games, right? Didn't play him at all. Now, what he did do was, after Texas lost against Oklahoma, Mac Brown played Cedric Benson. And what did he do when he played him? Cedric Benson went off like 30 carries, 130 yards or something like that in the next game. And the rest is history. Cedric Benson is one of the greatest backs to ever, put on cleats, for college football, and one of the best in the state of Texas at the high school and at the college level. Now, Bijan started and had a hell of a game. Roshan had a hell of a game too. And we got to see this offense, this power spread, which we were wanting to see basically for the last, 4 or 5 years now, or like the last, 4 years for Herman. So, in saying that, guys, man, we finally got to see what this offense could do. And it was like maybe too little too late, but maybe not too little too late, because Tom Herman's going to be back per CDC and the administration for the 2021 season. They got to win big, guys. They have to win, because they got to win to shore up the recruitment. They got to win to just put some confidence back in the program. Now, this kind of reminds me, let's just see what can happen with this season. We all know Tom Herman's going to be back. The buyout was $15 million. And Texas had the money, but for the right candidate. The right candidate was Urban Meyer. We didn't get Urban Meyer, so we're going to stick with Tom Herman. Let's see what he can do. Can Herman learn from his mistakes? It seems like he was humbled in that last press conference against Iowa State and after the Kansas State one. It just seems like he was a more humble guy. And maybe that's what needs to happen for Tom Herman to get back on the rails here at this program. Maybe he had to be humbled. Maybe the Mensa needed to be Mensa'd. I hope so, because I just hope that this program does well. Like I said, I want Tom Herman to win every game, because if he wins every game, then this football program is winning every game, and we have the football program that we are used to as Texas fans. We've been spoiled. And now that we're not spoiled, it's a little bit hard to take. What you're seeing now, I keep talking about the recruitment, guys, but what you're seeing now is the widening of the gap. Looking at teams like Oklahoma and Texas, we usually recruit the same talent, usually coming at, top, every year we're usually top 10 classes, right? But the gap is widening. They're getting the 5-star guys. We're not. And the gap in the talent pool for Oklahoma and Texas, it's widening. It's a Texas fan that's saddening to say, but they are getting more talented and we are getting more stale and stagnant. And we got to get out of that. So Tom has to win big next year. To 1, keep his job. And to 2, make sure that Texas gets back on the right foot. So guys, we're going to go to a small commercial break, and we're going to come back, and I'm going to tell you who should have been starting this year from the skill positions due to the NCN, the Ninos Corner number, for the receiving side and the rushing side. All right, small break. All right, guys, and we're back, man. We're going to talk now about the Texas skill positions, so wide receivers, the tight ends, the running backs, Sam, at the quarterback position. And we're going to basically say who should have been starting based upon the NCN numbers. So let me pull up my stats here, guys. I got a bunch of stats for you guys when it comes to this. So with the NCN number, guys, the higher the number, the better, right? The average NCN, score for an offense or an offensive skill position is 40 points on the offensive side of the ball. So 40 points is like an average player, average wide receiver, average tight end, average running back, 40 points. Just remember that. Tuck that nugget away. Now, when you're starting to get into the 50-point range, guys, the 50-point range are guys who are above average, guys who are almost there. I would say, like, they're not elite, but they're very good. Your elite level guys come in around that 65 to 70 point range. And we had some of that in the previous seasons. Devin Duvernay, I think, had a 77, point NCN. Colin Johnson wasn't at the elite level in college. His NCN, I think, last year it's around a 57 or 58. So let's just dive into these metrics, guys. So I'm gonna just look to my left here. So when you see me looking down, I'm just kind of glancing at my laptop, guys. So guys, when we're looking at the NCN for the wide receivers, Brennan Eagles is that guy for this team. He had an above average score. If not mistaken, Brennan Eagles was the only guy, the only wide receiver to have an above average NCN score. 51.35 was Brennan Eagles' score. I'm sorry, 51.10. I'm sorry about that, guys. 51.10 was Brennan Eagles' NCN receiving. Josh Moore erupted into the scene his first few weeks against like the UTEPs and against the Texas Techs, against the weaker talent. As the talent got harder, Josh Moore's numbers decreased. Is he that guy? Don't know. But his NCN was a 48.56. So it was above average, but it wasn't like that above average, like around that 50 to 55 point range that you want to see your starting wide receivers at. 48 is definitely, it's not an average receiver, but he's borderline between the average and above average. Above 50 is a guy that's who you want starting. Those are guys that you want on the field all the time, and you know that they can contribute and be that guy on a week in and a week out basis. So 51.1 points for Brennan Eagles. And let's just look at some of Brennan Eagles' stats, man. Brennan Eagles had a hell of a season, first off, guys. A hell of a deep ball threat. The Texas offense, the staff didn't know how to get this man the ball, and they should have got the ball in his hands a lot more than what they did, because Brennan Eagles is a playmaker. He was targeted, 48 times targeted, guys, 27 receptions, so a catch percentage of 56%, 469 yards, 22 first downs, guys. So out of those 27 receptions, 22 of those were first downs. So he's always above the chains. It's what you like from your wideout. You want him to be above the chains all the time. And if I'm not mistaken, Brennan Eagles, Brennan Eagles is, I wouldn't say he's the highest, but he's like the second highest. Yeah, he is the second highest first downs per reception receiver on the team. The first guy is Tariq Black, who he continuously got past the chains, but he foamed the ball out and he dropped the ball out, and he was a liability. He had 11 catches for 25 targets, 11 catches, 264 yards, Tariq Black. And, 10 of those catches were first downs. But his NCN was below average, guys, 38.4, which goes to show you he was a grad transfer from Michigan, had a bunch of talent, high 4-star guy. But the thing about Tariq Black, when you're a 4-star guy and you're at a school like Michigan, there's a reason why you're a grad transfer and the school doesn't tell you to come back. We just got, Michigan second, and we got Tariq Black, and we kind of see why he was a grad transfer. His ball security was not the best. He didn't catch balls like he should have. He dropped some balls. he shouldn't have been on the field as much as he was initially. And the staff got that right later on in the season. They started taking him out, but they got him out of the game once the core got a little bit healthy. So we had to wait on getting Jordan Whittington back. Jake Smith was banged up this year too. Josh Moore, who did step up this year, and we'll go over him right now too. Josh Moore, 48.56, like I said. So that's an above average NCN offense, but not at that 50-point range that you want for your starter. But he did have a good season, guys. So Josh Moore he tied with Brennan Eagles for the most targets on the team. 48 targets. He had 25 receptions compared to Brennan Eagles' 27. Like I said, Josh Moore turned it on in the beginning of the season and died out in the end of the season. Brennan Eagles was the opposite. Turned it on at the end of the season, wasn't as high as the top of the season, but he turned it on when the talent got a little bit tougher. So kudos to Brennan Eagles for that. So Josh Moore, 388 yards. His yards per target, 8.08 yards. Brennan Eagles, 9.77, which led the team. Okay. The next guy on yards per target, guys, was 9.36. But that's at the running back position. But this is just the wide receivers. Brennan Eagles had the highest yards per target and yards per reception for all of the wide receivers on the Texas staff. Not staff, but the Texas team. So our starters, guys, should have been Brennan Eagles and Josh Moore, which it was. Not knocking that. But the receiver rotation was sort of weird, right? Texas had a bunch of receivers rotating. We didn't need that. Now, the slot position. We had two guys at slot. Jake Smith, all right, and Jordan Whittington. Two explosive slot guys. Both of them were hurt throughout the season. I really wanted to see what Jordan Whittington was going to do this year. I really wanted to see what Jake was going to do this year. Those two guys are explosive in the slot. Now, let's look at their NCNs, guys. Their NCNs, Jake Smith. Jake Smith had a 41.6 NCN, and Jordan Whittington had a 39.3. Now, those basically, they're at the 40-point range, meaning they're average wide receiver. But that number's a little bit skewed because they came on a little bit later in the season, and the offense didn't utilize them like they should have. Jake Smith and Jordan Whittington on any other team would ball out. This team has to get better at being able to get these guys in space and get the ball to them, because we saw it at the end of the season what Jordan Whittington was able to do. We saw with Jake Smith, we saw like the glimpses with him, what he was able to do also. But if you look at just some of the numbers, Jordan Whittington had 21 targets, Jake Smith had 38. Whittington had 17 catches out of those 21 targets, guys. So his catch percentage was 81%, which is what you want from a wide receiver. A lot of his were bubble screens. A lot of his were shorter passes, more like extensions of the running game. However, he did catch the ball at an 81% clip. Now, Jake Smith, guys, 38 targets, 23 receptions. All right, 60.5 60.5 catch percentage. 294 yards. Yards per target was 7.73. Yards per reception were 12.8, which is great. I like to see that from my slot receiver. 12.8 yards per reception, and Jordan Whittington had a 10.35 yards per reception. So out of your slot, these guys are getting down the field. They're not just possession receivers, so they're getting 8 yards, 7 yards. Almost like that Jarvis Landry number like a few years ago when he led the league in catches, but like didn't even get 1,000 yards or barely crack 1,000 yards. I think it was averaging like 7.8 yards a catch. Now, these guys, when you have those guys who are, I would say, guys who stretch the change, they are possession guys, but they're explosive possession guys. And those are your guys, Jordan Whittington, Jake Smith. I can't wait to see what they're going to do next year. I think if Texas runs these double slot, I can't think right now. If Texas runs these double slot formations, I couldn't think of formations, guys. What is wrong with me? All right. If they run those double slot formations with both of those guys in the middle and your two guys on the outside and Eagles and Moore, you got something going. But Eagles might declare for the draft for our fine folks at orangebloods.com. I think it was Aaron Richardson who actually, put the message up there. But it looks like Brennan Eagles might declare for the draft. And if that happens, man, Texas, what are we going to do? Troy Amiri, guys, put that name in the back of your head. if he comes back fully healthy from this knee injury he had this year in training camp, he will replace Brennan Eagles, and he is an explosive guy in the high school level. And just looking at some of the film he had from those practices this spring, he's going to be good, guys. He's going to be good. But he tore his knee up, so let's hope for a speedy recovery because I think it's going to be a good one. And I think he can take that position. Now, if we look at the tight ends, guys, Cade Brewer is the guy. He is the starting tight end. His NCN was a 40.9, which is basically, come on, guys, average. He's an average receiving tight end in this offense, average receiving tight end in this conference, average receiving tight end in the country. Now, the guy who should have been getting more reps is a guy by the name of Jared Wiley. Played quarterback at Temple High School. Temple is a good football school. I went to Ellison High School in Fort Hood, Killeen, Fort Hood. So I know all about Temple High School. Now, he was a quarterback there. I heard he was a hell of a baseball player too. And they moved him to the tight end position. You're talking about a guy who's rangy, lengthy. The guy can pretty much catch what you throw to him. Jared Wiley, 46.5 NCN. I think this guy's a true freshman, if I'm not mistaken, or a redshirt freshman. But he is less experienced than Cade Brewer and put up a significant number better than Cade Brewer did. Now, let's take a look at just the targets and the catches. Jared Wiley, 13 targets, 9 receptions, guys. Cade Brewer, 18 targets, 13 receptions. Now, let's take a look a little bit into that. All right. 13 receptions for Cade Brewer for 110 yards. Jared Wiley, 9 receptions, 166 yards. 166 yards on 9 receptions. A little bit more explosive guy. At the tight end position than Cade Brewer. And I tell you what, next year, when Texas does these 2 tight end sets, they're going to have the opportunity to put Jared Wiley and Malcolm Epps, who really shine. Let's talk about Epps for a little bit. Epps, guys, his NCN was a 60.15, but I don't really count it because he didn't get a lot of targets this year. He only had 6 targets, but he had 3 catches on those 6 targets for 42 yards, guys, and 3 first downs. So every catch was a first down for him. Averaged 14 yards of reception, and he had 2 TDs. So those 2 TDs help skew his NCN number up to where it is now. But he's an athletic guy. Played wide receiver, he played tight end in high school. They tried to switch him to wide receiver in college. That wasn't the right thing. But he's a natural tight end. Very athletic, hell of a basketball player in high school also. So if you can pair these 2 next year, once we do 2 tight end sets, the same way that we would do with the 2 slot positions when it comes to Jordan Whittington and Jake Smith, man, we're going to have one hell of a offensive skill position set. So let's take a look at explosive plays, guys. Well, how about TDs? So Josh Moore, guys, led the team with 7 TDs. Brennan Eagles with 5 TDs. Everybody else, I think the next closest person was Jake Smith with 3. And there you go for the receiving. Now, explosive plays, guys. So explosive plays when it comes to colleges, yards of 15. Well, it's a catch or a play of 15 yards or more. So Brennan Eagles again, 11 explosive plays. The next person was Josh Moore with 9. Next person of that was Tariq Black, to be honest with you. That's kind of wow. I didn't think about that. Jake Smith had 7. Jordan Whittington in limited action at 4. But our guy, Jared Wiley, 3 explosive plays, at the tight end position on only 13 targets. So 3 explosive plays on 9 receptions. So every 1 out of 3 plays was a play over 15 yards for him for a tight end. And that's just freaking amazing. And successful plays. I have a calculation I do, guys, where a successful play is like on the first down, you get at least half of your yardage on first down. The second down, at least 70% of the yardage needed to, 70% of that yardage to get, that second down play to be a successful play. And on third down, a successful third down play is you're getting enough yards to get a first down. And then a successful fourth down play is actually converting, right? So successful plays. So if we look at Josh Moore, 25 receptions, 23 of those were successful plays. So his rate was a 92% successful play per reception. Let's look at Eagles. Brennan Eagles, 27 receptions, successful plays, 23. So he had an 85. He had an 85% successful play per reception. Tariq Black, 91%. Who else? Jared Wiley, 88%. Successful play per reception. If you look at Jake Smith, 61%. Jordan Whittington, 65%. Bijan Robinson, 73%. Kai Money, 78%. All right, guys, let's take a look. Let's go down to the rusher. So I think that we come to the conclusion our receivers next year are going to be Josh Moore. We got to keep Jordan Whittington. We got to keep Jake Smith healthy. Brennan Eagles will be starting if he comes back and doesn't enter the draft. All right, and the starting tight end is going to be Jared Wiley. If we have a 2 tight end set, Jared Wiley and Malcolm Epps. It's going to be a fun battle. But let's take a look at the running backs. All right, guys. So the NCN rushing. Sam Ehlinger led the team with a 72.7 NCN rushing in the highest in the team. Next highest person, guys, Bijan Robinson, 67.8. Very, very elite. Next person after that, Roshan Johnson, 66.8, just 1 point less. That is elite running, guys. A lot of that was due towards the end of the season. These guys ran very well towards the end of the season, but I feel like they still have more in the tank. The coaches really ran with Keontae Ingram because he had the experience, and he started, and he had the fumble at during the TCU game that cost us the game. He fumbled a lot this year. He ended up getting hurt towards the end of the season, but him getting hurt opened the door for the next person. The next person was Bijan Robinson, our 5-star, tailback from Arizona. And what did Bijan do, guys? Bijan balled out this year, man. Bijan, 76 rushes, 513 yards. 6.75 yards per attempt. It looks like Bijan and Sam tied for rushing yards. So Sam 88 rushes, 513 yards, 5.82 yards per attempt. Now, guys, what I do on my calculation, which is different from the regular college calculation. College for a quarterback, when they get sacked, they count that as rushing yards. I don't count that as rushing yards. I just count it as a sack, right? In the pros, a sack doesn't count against your rushing yards. And so I kind of do the same thing in my calculation. So Sam, minus the sack yards, 513 rushing yards. Like I said, 5.83 yards per attempt. Bijan, 6.75 yards per attempt. Roshan, 69 carries, 382 yards, 5.53 yards per attempt. First downs, Roshan had 22. Sam had 35, and Bijan had 17. So first downs per attempt. This is the number I like. First downs per attempt. You kind of want that number to be every third play, you're getting a first down. Every third attempt you're getting is a first down. Bijan has to get that number up. He's at around 22%, so he's not even at a quarter. He's not even at that 1 out of every 4 plays is a first down for him per attempt. Sam, 39.7. So 40% of his attempts went for a first down. All right. Roshan, 32%. 32% of his attempts went for first downs. That's that explosive, guys. That's what you want in your players. Now, let's take a look at the TDs, guys. Sam, 7. Roshan, 5. Bijan, 3. Explosive plays. This is where we're going to get. Now, even though only 22% of his carries were basically first downs, right? First downs per attempt. Bijan did have the most explosive plays. He's explosive, guys. He's explosive. 9 explosive plays from the running back position, meaning 15 yards or more. All right, so his explosive play per attempt. Now, see, this is the odd part. Almost 12% of the time, Bijan gets an explosive play. So it's like 1 out of every 9 plays, Bijan gets an explosive play. So he's like, put the foot in the ground, make that cut up, and he's gone. A lot faster than I thought he was. And it's successful plays. All right, so Bijan had 28 successful plays. Roshan 36, and Sam 47. Right? So the successful plays per attempt for Bijan about 37%, Sam 53%, and Roshan 52%. See, that's just more, guys. Like when you look at that, that is more of the experience piece. So you're looking at Bijan really came on towards the end of the year. So his uh, successful plays, he took a few negative plays, just not sometimes. Like sometimes I think Bijan was going too fast. Sometimes, wasn't letting the play sit up in front of him. And you saw how Roshan did the same thing last year, but this year he's a little bit more patient. And Sam's always been a pretty patient runner, so that just comes with experience. But next year, Bijan Robinson and Roshan Johnson should be the workhorses, with the main piece, the main ingredient being Bijan Robinson, man. But that's what we got today, guys. That is what we did today. We broke down the NCN receiving and rushing for the Texas skill players. We broke down that. Let's pray and hope that Bijan stays healthy, because he's going to be our starting running back next year with a lot of Roshan Johnson in there. Hudson Card's probably going to be our starter, especially with Jaquindon Jackson basically just putting his name in the transfer portal today. So we got Hudson Card and Casey Thompson as our quarterbacks next year. And yeah, we went from a stacked QB room to a very small QB room. All right, once you're talking about the wide receivers, guys, let's hope Brendan Eagles comes back. But if he doesn't, man, go get that money in the NFL, man. We are backing you. Hook them all day long, baby. Josh Moore, Jordan Whittington, and Jake Smith as the others. And Troy Miri, I'm so eager to see what he's going to do next year, just coming off that injury. And the tight ends, Jared Wiley, do your thing, big boy. And Malcolm Epps, do your thing. And Liebert's going to be a pretty good player, I think, also. So on that note, guys, man, let's get out of here, man. It is getting late at night for me. I got to put this on the podcast. Love you guys, man. Do you. Don't be afraid to fail. Outgrow your environment. Understand your brilliance, man. Ninos Corner, we are out.